Why are prices still going up globally? But why is it particularly dangerous in the United States, destroying the American middle class as of right now, this very moment? Folks, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and yet again, a familiar topic: economic collapse preparedness, inflation, how you get ready for all of this. You probably saw previous videos, but this one has a specific twist that you're not familiar with, so do stay up until the end of the video. Also, if you want to learn more about this, if you haven't got those already, my books, Surviving the Economic Collapse, Street Survival Skills, you want to get both in Amazon, in the links below if you haven't done so already. So you're probably familiar with the concept of inflation, how this is dangerous, how I've gone through hyperinflation that destroyed the economy of my country in Argentina, and how it is still affecting it right now, going through yet another wave of massive inflation, over 100% inflation. Inflation is the loss of value of your fiat currency. It's a little piece of paper that you just trust. It has certain value. When people start losing faith on that, then you buy less and less with it. And once that spreads, the fear in the market, people start going to banks, trying to get out their money, trying to convert that into something tangible, and just snowballing into an economic collapse. Now, what you're seeing happening right now is different. It's a combination. It's not that inflation in terms of loss of value of the currency because of different factors isn't a thing. It very much is. But you're seeing right now is something else. And just reading through some of the headlines, why do businesses keep raising their prices, right? And then you go into The Guardian, more of a left-wing media outlet. Global greedflation, big firms driving shopping bills to record highs. And there's quite a bit of that going on as well. So let me explain. You do have inflation due to, for example, if you start printing money, which is something that the United States government has been doing a lot of lately, so as to pay for those expenses that the government likes to have, well, that just drives inflation through the roof. You start giving money away to people. Oh, what? You don't want people to have money? Yes. But the thing is, the more of it you print, the less valuable it becomes. That is a key factor. The other key factor is something I've seen myself in Argentina when all of this went down, when what I wrote about in Surviving the Economic Collapse went down, which is I just raise prices just in case. It's gonna go up anyway, so why wait? I'll just raise it a little bit right now, okay? So, okay, it's $9. Yeah, okay, make it 12, right? So you start doing these things of, okay, as a small business, I just put myself ahead of the curve. As a large business, you also do the same thing. You put yourself ahead of the curve, and then some, because why not? Now, is this because of greedflation, which sounds like a little bit of a commie terminology, right? An anti-capitalist terminology. Well, it may well be, but I can tell you one thing. It is very much true that companies want to make money. This is a known fact. It is a for-profit business. All business want to make money. Now, how is it that you make money? Well, that depends on a few things. Your own moral values. Am I having moral questionings because of the product I'm offering, if it's as good as it could be, or maybe it's a little bit worse, but I get a little bit more profit? Well, most companies don't have this dilemma. Coca-Cola does not think twice about killing enormous amounts of people with an oversaturated drink full of sugar that is terrible for your health. They just do it, and it's on you to buy it or not. They've been doing this for over 100 years. They're not stopping anytime soon, and the government will not stop them either, right? And that is part of what freedom involves. You have the right to buy certain things, and if you think that this is not good for you, you stop. There's also a bit of disparity of force in terms of marketing, influence, cultural and social influence, and how kids are particularly vulnerable to these tactics, adults for sure as well. So it's not always all that fair, but this is part of freedom. Now, what is not part of freedom is when the market is cornered because of the power that these corporations have. And I'll just give you an example. For example, I have this phone, right? It's a Xiaomi Note Pro 10. Costs about $200. It has the exact same offers the exact same hardware and the screen and the cameras. It's all as good as your $1,000 iPhone. The only difference is that iPhone charges you $1,000 for this, and the commies over in China, which also build the iPhone, well, without using the Apple brand, they charge you $230. Now, this is a phone that if you want to buy it in the United States, well, it's kind of not something you can do because it's blacklisted. Xiaomi phones are not sold. Why Xiaomi phones are not sold in the US? Well, because they are cheaper, and companies that make a lot more money just lobby so as to not have these happen. Now, it's because it's a Chinese phone and Chinese spies and, well, every damn thing. Your iPhone is also made in China, right? So there's also this lobbying, this articles about trying to convince you why something that is not in your own economic best interest is actually being done by the government. In reality, still a freaking phone, still made in China, only I just paid a quarter or less than I would do if it had a different brand. So all of these things corner you into having less options. And you can choose to buy a cheaper phone. Actually, that's one of the reasons why Apple now has $200 and $250 phones. They're crap. They should be worth like $50, but you still see that you have options. Now, there's certain things like eating, like using electricity, like getting healthcare. These are things that you don't have an option. So when you are forced to deal with a higher prices, then this just drives inflation through the roof, and you don't have much of an option to say, oh yeah, I choose not to die, right? I choose to not get medical treatment and stay alive. I just choose to not spend that money. No, you don't have an option. Well, I choose to not pay for whatever is being charged for gas. You still have to pay for gas. So all of these things are driving that price higher and higher. And when you see some of this is from the BBC, right? The 7 reasons the cost of living is going up around the world. Follow me for a couple seconds here, and let me think if you believe any of this bullshit. Rising energy and petrol prices. Why? Because of the war in Ukraine? Really? That's the excuse right now? It's actually the price of natural gas is going down in most parts because it's been oversaturated preparing for an energy crisis that didn't actually go through. Goods shortages. Really? Do you see anything lacking in any store at all? Shipping costs. Okay, who decides the shipping costs? Oh, right, it's because of the energy price. Okay, let's just pretend that's actually true. Rising wages. Are you making a whole lot more money? Is your purchasing power going up significantly? Climate impact. Yeah, that is priceless. Trade barriers, the end of the pandemic support. Okay, bullshit. All of those points. The only one that is somewhat pushing it, but is a minor percentage, rising wages. The more inflation starts going up, the more people that can demand a better wage, which is not everyone, will say, you know what? Prices are going up, man, I need a new raise. I need another raise, and every few months you ask for more money. And to some extent, especially in the small, medium-sized businesses with key workers, you can get away with this a little bit, never actually beating inflation. That is rarely the case unless you are on the top elite that own the largest companies in the planet. But if not, you're kind of screwed anyway. All of these bullshit excuses don't really add up. The truth, it's greedflation. The greedflation that says, you know what, I can raise prices a little bit more. And this is particularly dangerous in the United States because the largest government the world has ever seen, the US government, works for these corporations. You don't have in any other country the kind of direct relationship between business and government that you see in the United States. The idea of lobbying is not just an idea that is frowned upon. It is downright illegal to lobby in most other countries. That's something that most Americans don't know. But in most other countries, a company cannot go and buy a politician. That is considered a serious crime. You end up in jail for doing that. So you do have a level of protection in other countries, in other developed countries that you don't have in the United States. The price of medicine is a lot more strictly controlled. The amount of sugar that some of the food has, especially for children. You cannot do advertising of candy for kids in TV shows targeting kids. So you have somewhat more of a protection by those government officials that are supposed to be doing that job all along. You do have a bit more of that in other places, and you don't have nearly as much of that in the United States. The prices of drugs, medications, medical care, all of that is just it is pure, whatever you want. I would be tempted to say free market, but there's nothing free about this. Not when you have the amount of monopoly and control that these corporations have, and just crush any kind of opposition or any kind of alternative that's trying to pop up. So you have an absolute monopoly of power by these corporations, and they're the ones that are now realizing, you know what? People deal with inflation. Let's just raise prices a little bit more, okay? Food, tomatoes, whatever it is, let's raise it a little bit more here. How far can we push this? Well, especially in the United States, where you have such a difference between the richest and the poorest, which is, again, it is kind of like more like in third world status of gap between those that have a lot and those that have very little, and usually in some of the other developed countries that gap is a little bit smaller. So, and if you combine this with the control in certain key prices that you have in other places, you start noticing this more and more. And let me know in the comment section, have you been seeing prices going up disproportionately so? Of course, the inflation index makes no sense whatsoever. It is just pure lies. We all know that. We've talked about that before. But what you see right now, it is corporate greed, which is fine. Greed for a business that's trying to make money. Yeah, you want to make money. But there has to be some kind of control in terms of, no, you know what? If you corner the market and people have no option but to buy your food, your energy, your healthcare, you can't do this. You can't raise prices so much in a time in which the people are struggling this hard, and you're getting record profit while claiming to have highest prices ever. Just doesn't work like that, and we won't let you do this. But that's not always the case, and you end up paying for this. And you pay for this with poverty. That's how you end up losing to inflation. And it is unfortunate because there's mechanisms by which inflation goes up in an organic way, and there's mechanisms by which inflation goes up artificially. It's not so much inflation, it is just price hikes by corporations that see the opportunity and say, I'll charge it. I can sell a video game for $70. I'll sell it for $70. I can sell it for what, $100? Man, maybe I will sell it for $100. And you start playing this game, and you start seeing how much people will pay, and you realize that there is a surviving higher end middle class or an upper middle class, and you do the math, and it turns out that, you know what, I can actually make a little bit more profit if I push away some of the lower end middle class market that I used to go for, and I just focus on the higher one. That is an extremely dangerous trend, and that's what you're seeing right now. Guys, all for now. See you on our next video. Take care.